A few weeks ago, I talked about code switching, and this week we're going to dive into that, but specifically for moms. So, my guest today is going to be Coach Whit. She works with overwhelmed women, especially moms, to really help them stop disappearing into motherhood, marriage, or work. And so, her goal really is to help you find your voice, to put yourself first without guilt, which is huge, and to really build a strong identity that thrives beyond their roles. And so I am very excited for this interview. There's a lot of good nuggets on how both Whit and I do this in our real lives. So you're going to want to take notes, learn from our examples, learn about what works for us and what we have done before that didn't. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the Well Lived Society. I'm your host, Lemon Price. And today I have my friend Coach Whit here. So welcome to the show, Whitney.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited. So everybody heard your background, all the fun things, but do you mind telling us something about you that we wouldn't know from your bio?
Yeah. So I am an avid CrossFitter. So I love working out. It's my jam. And also I don't really like running, although I do a lot of running. I'm also a mother of 5 amazing humans, all 4 of which are out of the house, and I just have 1 kiddo left. So it's almost like an empty nest now.
Oh my gosh. My husband constantly is like, do you want to start over? Because we're close. The youngest is in the 7th grade now. And he's like, do you want to start over? I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well,
Absolutely not.
it's funny because when we brought the baby home, we were like, oh my gosh, what did we do? Everybody was self-sufficient because our one older next in line above him was 8 years old. So I was like, everybody can make their own breakfast and self-sufficient, but it's fun. He's keeping us young.
Yes, that is so funny. Okay, so I'm excited actually that you brought up like the kids and the family because a few weeks ago, if you guys were listening to the show, I talked about code switching. But today we want to talk about good mom code switching. And so I would love to know how you define the good mom code switching.
I think we oftentimes as mothers, we just get wrapped up in our children. We get wrapped up in all the needs of what they, the day in and day out, and we lose ourselves along the way. I think a lot of women would say, if I asked them, hey, who's in your family? They would probably list off their husband and all of their children, and they would never list themselves. In fact, that's happened a lot in my coaching. And we forget who we are because we have created these amazing families. And I think sometimes we think that, hey, if I do or say no to my child so I can go and do something for myself, that's so selfish of you. And it's not really. And it's just, I think, realizing that I'm as important as all 5 of my children and my husband.
Okay, I really like this because identity work, I think, is something super important. It's something I do a lot with people. And so when people go into like this good mom mode, like what part of themselves usually goes first, do you think?
I think the biggest thing that I hear in with the women that I coach is that I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat well. We're staying up way too late because we're trying to squeeze in a little bit of, scrolling time or TV time at nighttime after everybody has gone to sleep. And we're sleeping in the morning and not really having a morning routine because we're tired from staying up or, whatever season you are with your children, if you're up taking care of a baby in the night, that's also its own season. But I think the biggest thing is those pieces of I don't have time is a big thing that I hear when actually we're not making the time. And we do have time for things that are important to us.
Okay, I really like this because you're right. We do have time. If you check your screen time, you probably have time where you could care for yourself. I'm so curious as to what you think, like, why do we utilize the time that we do have to doom scroll or to watch TV or something instead of like caring for ourselves or, like, I don't know, washing your makeup off or like putting on fresh clothes or showering. Like, cause I have a friend with a toddler and a newborn, and she's like, showering is a chore. Just to do that part, it is a chore. And so at night, she's like, I do like to doom scroll or something like that to free her brain. So why is it, do you think, that we tend to go that route instead of something that'll actually fill our cup?
I think number one, it's just a habit. It's a go-to habit. I mean, I think if you asked 100 people, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? It's probably reach for their phone just out of habit. And it's just a form of sedation. It's mindless. I don't have to think about taking care of somebody. I don't have to think about taking care of myself. There's no guilt and shame in that little box. It's just, it's a form of sedation. Like pouring yourself a glass of wine that's way easier than it is strapping on some tennis shoes and getting to the gym. And what I would say too about that is, what if I just started with one little thing to take care of myself? And maybe it's not the full shower, or maybe it's not the full makeup washing routine where it's the 5-step process. Maybe it's just a face wipe. And I've at least gotten there, because I think we also overcomplicate it, because we hear, well, you've got to lift heavy weights, and you have to eat your protein, and you have to make sure you're getting all your water in, and this and this and this and this. And then it gets to be one of those overwhelming jobs, instead of something that's actually, hey, what if I just spend the next 10 minutes doing something that fills me up? That's fun. That maybe it's not exercise, maybe it's just sitting down with your journal or sitting down and meditating.
Okay, I really like this because we did a whole episode on habits and how like a lot of habit advice too is built for men. It's definitely not built for moms at all. And so just the idea of like, what can I do for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes that pours into me instead of doom scrolling? Because and I think too, because it's just like such a low lift activity, right? Like it is so much easier for me to pull out my phone and doom scroll for an hour than it is. And I live in the sticks. So for me, where I go to the gym, it's at least a 20-minute drive to the gym. Then I usually do class. So I go to Hot Works where you can only do classes basically. And so I like have to schedule it on my app. I have to get to the gym on time. I have to make sure the sauna is on and ready to go, set up all my stuff, take this at least a 45-minute class. Usually I do two. So now I'm there an hour and a half and then 20 minutes. I'm like, it's a full like 2-hour process for me to go to the gym. And that's hard. I mean, that's like of my day being consumed by just going to the gym and caring for myself. And so you're right. Sometimes it can feel really selfish, or, you feel bad going to the gym. And I would love to talk about some of the mom guilt too around caring for yourself. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I like that you brought up, because a lot of women think, okay, in order for me to go to the gym, you just listed off, it's a 2-hour ordeal. Now you're making time for that because going to this particular gym and taking these classes are important to you. So you're going to figure that out, just like I've figured out how to get to my gym. And I think what we do is we can pull back from that and just start the habit of working out, which can be in your bedroom, which could be in your living room, which could be, somewhere around your house. So you don't even have to put tennis shoes on. You could do it barefoot in your pajamas. I've gotten a few women working out. It's like, hey, the second your feet touch the ground, why don't you just do 10 minutes of something? And you can actually get an amazing workout in 10 to 15 minutes just using your body weight or going for a walk. And what comes with that mom guilt is like, okay, well, that's 2 hours I took away from my family. But if you think about, especially with my kids having, they're, like I said, four of my kids are grown and out of the house at this point, and I still have an 11-year-old at home. My 11-year-old does not want 4 hours of my time. He wants my time, but it's not the quantity of time that he wants, it's the quality of time. 10 minutes of sitting down with him and cracking up laughing, or an hour, he doesn't want to spend an hour with me. It's rare. I mean, there have been moments where it's like I'm asking him, hey, let's play a game, let's go do, something. But you can figure out how to be the mom that you want to be while also being the person that you are, that you want to be, that you just building yourself will build them. And we've lost that somehow. We think that, well, I've got to put everybody first. And then we're this empty shell that all we have energy left to do is scroll on our phone.
I love that you talked about this. So I went back to graduate school this year to get my third master's, which it's a lot. Going back to school, I was 35 when I started classes. And I have been home for the kids' entire life. Like my business has always been remote. I've always been home. And so for the first time, like I'm leaving the house and my classes are at night. Which my husband hates, but they're like 6:30 to 9:30 at night, 4 days a week. And they're every other week. But the school offered me a research job too, because they were like, you already have 2 master's degrees. Like, we would love to have you come on board. And so now I have an office on campus and I'm going to the office. It took the kids a few weeks to adjust. They were like, well, what happens if we forget a project? Or what if we're sick at school and you have to come get, I mean, there was like panic about me not being around. And I felt so guilty. I was like, I like talked, I mean, my husband and I, we talked about it extensively. I'm like, are they going to be okay? Like, am I a bad mom for like going to school? And I'm only on campus like 20 hours a week, but I'm like, am I a terrible person for doing this? And he's like, no, go. But it's so cool to see how the kids have adjusted, because now they're like, well, we're so proud of you. And like, they're checking up on me. They're like, how are your grades? Do you have anything that's due? Like, what do you do? And they're so excited for me. And it's encouraging them, because we had a whole conversation around my responsibilities versus their responsibilities and how I'm in school too now, just like they are. And I had a perfect 4.0. So I'm like, but also took care of the house and had a job and did all the other things that come with it. And so it's been inspiring for them. They're like, wow, like my literal only responsibility is like have fun and do my homework. Like I can do so much more by me going out and doing something for them. But there was a lot of guilt in the beginning about me doing that.
I think what's important, especially like in a season of, this is not forever. This is, hey, for the next year or two, however long it takes for you to get your master's, having the conversation with your children, if you have some big event coming up like this, that this is not forever. This is, things are going to look different. And, and showing them how it's going to look different so that they feel safe. I know, like I also work from home. So my kids have gotten really spoiled to me being around pretty much all the time. And there have been moments where I've traveled and my son will go, what am I going to do when I'm like, Dad can also take care of you. He does a really good job at it. It's just, it's the default is always mom, right? And he does just fine when I travel. But having that conversation ahead of time, and if you see that, hey, this is going to be a permanent thing. Hey, this is when we're going to spend time again together, just showing them, okay, dinners are going to be weird, but I can have lunch with you. Or our family meal has moved to breakfast, or, whatever that looks like that works for your family. But really just the communication of it all. And I love that your kids are honoring you and your grades and your hard work. And they're like, hey, I'm proud of you. They are watching us. And if I can do something that's taking care of me, just like training for a race and then running that race and having them there, it's showing them that they can do hard things too.
I love this. Yes, you can do hard. We say this all the time. You can do hard things. We talk about all the time, like, and we'll talk about the hard things they've done. We're like, look at all these hard things you've done that you didn't think you were capable of doing. And it completely shifts their brain and how they show up and what they think they should be doing. Like the 12-year-old now is like mad at himself because he's like, I feel like I should have a nonprofit or something going on. I'm like, you're 12. And he's like, yeah, but you and Dad are doing all these things. And so therefore, like he's like, I don't know how to do one, but I feel like I need to start some sort of community project or something, just because it's what's been modeled for him. And so he's like, I constantly, like, I can do hard things because I see you two doing hard things all the time, which is the coolest thing to see, I think, is when we model it. I mean, you really can shift generations, because who knows what they can accomplish when you model that type of behavior for them.
I just ran a call with a group of women, and one of the questions that came up was, how are you taking care of yourself? And are your kids witnessing this? And I challenged them. I said, hey, when you get off this call, I want you to go and ask your children how you take care of yourself. And I wanted them to report back because our kids, like I said, they pay attention, they see. And that was one of I went right after the call, I went down and I asked my son, I was like, hey, how do you think mom takes care of yourself? Because we do hard things. He's like, you go to the gym even on the days that you don't want to. And I was like, that's kind of cool. He's noticing, he's even hearing me when I say, man, I don't feel like going to work out, but I'm going to go anyway. Because how cool is it for him? Because I promise you, I mean, he's only 11 years old, that he's going to have a lot of moments in life where he's like, I just don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway, because he's seeing on the other side when I come back, the energy I have to take on the rest of my day is there.
Okay, yes, I love this. I think it's so important that we have things to pour into ourselves because I do, it makes me a better wife. It makes me a better mom, makes me a better friend, a better leader. Everything is better when I have something for myself. And I've really been preaching to women a lot lately. It's like also have something that's not necessarily quote unquote society's version of productive. Like I joined a needlepoint club, and it is I go Mondays and Thursdays to needlepoint, and all it is it is so relaxing to just talk to a group of women, and we're talking about what we're reading and what we're listening to and what's like going on in our community and things we want to improve. And it's 2 hours. I'm just sitting here needlepointing my lobster, and the boys are like, this is so great. Like, go do it. They think it's so funny that I'm a grandma with my grandma hobbies. But my needlepoint club is full of like college girls to people who are like 70 plus. But they're like, this is good. Like, they see me going out and like having friends and having relationships and doing something that's not necessarily productive. Cause I'm like, I know that, I don't know, as a millennial, like I grew up with hustle culture constantly. Everything has to strive, everything's for a college application or a job interview. And so I don't want them to have that same mentality. So I'm like, I also want you to see that I'm out having fun with people and it's not bettering the world in any way, shape, or form, but it's good for my soul to go do it.
And we've lost that somehow because we lose that in the responsibilities of taking care of families, of having businesses, going back to school, all the things we lose that little bit of joy. And if you can just take a step back in time and remember, you were a little girl. You used to be a little girl that grew into a woman. What did that little girl enjoy doing? And going back and figuring, some of those things out. And it doesn't have to be for a purpose other than it just gives you joy. And it makes you like, hello, I'm relaxed and I'm not doing, I don't have to be doing this. I'm choosing to do something. My family makes fun of me because I do diamond art. It's the most pointless thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It shuts my mind off of all the things and it just relaxes me. And then I can literally do that for 10 or 15 minutes. Again, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour process. 10 or 15 minutes, I'm like, it's a reset for me and I'm back, back on.
Yeah. And it's such a good way also to be creative in a way that you're not monetizing or every time I do it, I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm thinking about the design and then what I'm going to do with that design and all these things and I'm not worried about what does it look like on Canva or something. I'm not pulling out this graphic design part of my brain or anything like that when you run a business and you're thinking creatively in all of these other ways. And so doing some like diamond art and stuff is creative in a different way, but also it's tangible. Like I need to touch something besides a computer or my cell phone these days. And so I think this is super, super important. I want to talk since we've talked about like working and all these things too. When we're talking about code switching, do you think that code switching is the same like when you're at work and at home, like, or are they different? Or do you think it's like the same muscle, just different environments?
I think it's the same. It's just different environments. And it's a remembrance. Like when we're switching into the different roles of what we're doing, I it's especially working from home, it can be a little distracting because the second I walk downstairs to get a quick snack or lunch, it's like I'm seeing all the house things that I need to take care of, but I'm in the middle of my work day. And it's just reminding myself of who I am in that moment, and even with mom, it's like, okay, when I walk downstairs and I'm done with work for the day, it's like, okay, out of work mode into to mom mode. And it's funny because even with my husband, we both are coaches and we'll sit down and we can talk about coaching. And I'm like, okay, nope, we're on a date. We're not talking about kids. We're not talking about work. We're talking about, just you and I or something funny that's happened during the week. So yeah, I think it kind of plays a role all around.
I love that you said that. My husband and I do the same thing. We have to intentionally tell ourselves, like, we cannot talk about community work or anything like that tonight. Like, it has to be just us. Like, can we just talk about us and no kids? No, yeah, we have to do the same thing. But it's hard, I think, sometimes when you love actually what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing. And then, like, you value your spouse's opinion on the things you're doing. But we do have to be like, no, we're a couple today, not business partners, not anything else, which is a hard mode to switch out of.
It really is a hard mode. And it's something that my husband and I have really valued is our date nights. And again, we're the parents of 5 kids and we own a business together. And, it can be difficult at times. It's like, well, then what do we talk about? Because with this, well, you bring up a kid and you're like, nope. And then it's so funny because I've been at dinner with him and I go to say something and I just stop and he's like, what? And I was like, no, we promised we weren't going to talk about work tonight. He's like, okay, you can say it. You have 5 minutes. We're going to do this. And then we just clear it all. And it will even come with topics, and it's funny. Just, we're going to talk about this and this. Just as a reminder, and half the time we don't even talk about the topics that we brought.
That's so funny. I love that you do that. So we talked about code switching and how like our kids notice it when we do choose ourselves. I would love to know your thoughts on like what the ripple effect looks like when we don't choose ourselves and we suppress ourselves.
I mean, I can go back. This was probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. And I was drowning. That's it. I didn't know that I was drowning. I don't know that I would have been able to say it, but words like overwhelm, like, oh, a lot of sighing. I could, every time there was something next to do, it was just like, life just felt really heavy. But then I'm looking at my kids and I'm like, but I chose this. This was not an accident. I chose to be married. I chose to be a mom. I chose to have a business. I chose all of these things, but where's Whitney in the midst of it all? And I can promise you that being the overwhelmed mom, my kids were getting a different side of me that I don't like. I mean, I see her come out every now and then. And I'm like, nope, we're gonna go ahead and nip that and figure it out. Because when I look at my calendar, I often remind myself everything on that calendar I put there. No one else filled my calendar but myself. And when I can start, cherry picking things that are not important for this week so that I can add in a beach day with my kids or even just going for a walk by myself. There were a lot of moments, even in my relationship with my husband, that it was just like, I'm tired. So it's like the second I get in bed, I'm going to sleep. And then it's like, where's our relationship? Because we haven't spent any time together. And so by not doing the simple things and one of the biggest things is my morning routine. I just discovered, hey, I can take an hour in the morning and just be Whitney and do the things that I do in the morning that set me up for success in my day that I then can give to all my coaching clients and my kids and my husband. And then I can rebuild myself the next morning so that I'm not this empty shell of a human that's showing up in hopes that I'm going to have a good day.
Okay, I love this. I think this is super important to have things that are just for you because I know for me, like I remember early on in our marriage and stuff, there was times I was overstimulated and the kids would know it. They'd be like, oh, mom's overstimulated. Let's like give her some space. And I didn't like that version of myself. I was like, this is not healthy. So I have to have things completely for me to be like, it's not selfish for me to take time away from the family so that I can be a better person for the time that I am with them. So I think that is super important. So if a woman was listening to the show and she is like, oh, that's me, like I have been suppressing things, I haven't been doing anything for myself, what's something that she could do today when this podcast is over, what's something she could do today?
I would start with looking at just what your day looks like, just how it is currently, and writing down the things that you did and figuring out like what are some things that I could get rid of? What are the things that are necessary that have to stay? And, where's the time that I'm wasting? And how can I rearrange that schedule? Because again, it's yours. And if you don't want to start there, I would even go even smaller and just say, hey, what if you woke up 10 minutes earlier and gave yourself just a little bit of time, whether it's just you're sitting on the side of your bed and with your eyes still closed, or you're just going to get that first cup of coffee and drink your first cup of coffee with no one talking to you. It doesn't have to be some massive thing, or going to bed 10 minutes earlier. It, a lot of times we think that big shifts in our life have to be big, giant movements, where actually it's just these small little action items that just add up to a huge difference.
I really like that. It's something I did for myself as I stopped charging my phone in my bedroom. It's actually in our bathroom at night. So I can't doom scroll because if it's next to me, I'm going to doom scroll. And so I moved it to my bathroom. I can still hear my alarm like it's a couple feet away from my room. And so that has been a game changer. And instead, I'm like, oh, I could read, or my husband and I, we could talk to each other, or something like that. And I'm like, this makes such a difference. I'm sleeping better. I wake up more energized because I'm not doom scrolling or any of those things. And then having the cup of coffee alone in the morning is really top tier. For if you guys have not done this yet, it is truly top tier. I will tell you guys what I did because I have three very large dogs too. And so the minute I get up, all three of them also want to get up. If I make any too much noise in the house, if they can hear me, they're like, well, we need to get up too. And so what I did is I have bird feeders everywhere, and I moved one of my outdoor glider to where some of the bird feeders are and like the garden and everything. And I'll have my coffee there, hang out with my little birds because the birds are on a weird routine too, just so you guys know. And if I don't open my blinds or come outside in time for the birds, they're tapping on my window. But I just get to go sit outside with my birds. Usually my cat comes with me and sits with me, and we're just hanging out alone. And it is beautiful in the morning. Beautiful. I'm like, oh, I feel so grounded now because I sat outside with coffee and listened to the birds and nobody talked to me.
And it's a little subtle shift. And it's just a willingness to do something different. So we get so stuck in our routines that we just think we're on this hamster wheel with no way out. There is an exit. And it's a willingness to take a step outside of the normal routine. And like you said, like trade the cell phone for a book. I got a Kindle just recently, and I'm not picking my phone up anymore because it's the worst thing. We do that and then we're up. A Kindle doesn't have the blue light, and if I fall asleep, it saves my place, because I also was trying audiobooks and then I'd fall asleep and I'm like, okay, I lost my place. I have no idea where I am, but it's just finding something that works for you. And again, something really subtle can shift and be huge for your day.
I love this. Okay, I have last question that I have for you, so I don't keep you here all day. But if they're listening and then they find themselves start to disappear again or start to suppress themselves again, what is one piece of advice you could give them to kind of like snap them back out of that to start caring about themselves as a human being again?
I would look in the eyes of your children and go, hey, I love this human. I want this, I want to raise this human to adulthood, right? But look in the eyes of your children and the joy that you see in their eyes, you're also there. And if you can just remind yourself that you are important to even take 5 minutes of your time to do for you, it's just a reminder. It's a habit, maybe setting an alarm. I have, like I said, a morning routine that's non negotiable for me. And that came over time. So if you can just start little pieces, and hey, if you skip it today, pick it back up tomorrow.
Okay, I love this because we tend to do that, right? As women, especially, we tend to do this all or nothing type of thing. And it's like, oh, well, I screwed up on Wednesday, so therefore I can't pick it back up till Monday. And that's just not true. I had a health coach a couple of years ago, and they said, okay, so if you slipped, you made a mistake, like what's the next right thing that you could do?
Yeah.
What's the next best thing that you could do? And it's not waiting 4, 5, 6 days to go and start again. It's what's the next right decision I could make for myself to get me to the goals that I have. So I love that that was the advice you had. Whitney, thank you so much for being here. Where can everybody go to connect with you?
If you just go to apogywoman.com, you can find me there. And I'm not as involved on socials as I'd like to be, but it's at Coach Whit for Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, perfect. I'm not on socials anymore either. I decided like a month and a half ago that I didn't want it and deleted all the apps. And the only time I can get on social media now is through my laptop. And I don't try to be on that much. So game changer also for you guys, deleting the apps is a game changer of a move. I love it. I have way more free time not having apps. So I don't know. That's my little weird advice for you today. Thank you again, Whitney, for being here. I so appreciate you. And I will see you all next time.
Thank you.
Leave. Hey, friend, before I let you go completely, I have one more thing I want to share with you. If you've been listening to this podcast and nodding along, these conversations about board seats, about hosting with intention, about leading your whole life, not just this part that sort of happens at work, I build a place for you. It's called the Well Lived Society. I know you are floored by that name. It is a membership community for ambitious and civically engaged women who are done operating in silos, because I truly do believe that leadership is a whole life experience. And so inside, you'll get monthly live gatherings. We have a leadership book club, a quarterly fiction read, because you are a whole human being. And I think you should read fiction. It's good for you. We'll do weekly Q&A calls with me. We have quarterly tools and templates that you're actually going to use. There will be a private community of women doing this exact work. And you'll have 2 of my AI planners, which I'm really excited about. One is about hosting. So I tested this. It is literally all of my hosting tips uploaded into one space. And so whether you're planning Sunday dinner with your in-laws or you are planning Christmas dinner for 20 plus people, this can walk you through it. It menu plans. It helps you figure out the timeline. It gives you a shopping list. Like you can pick your grocery store and tell it like your budget, and it will help you figure this out. Tablescape ideas, how to actually prep and cook everything so it comes out hot and ready. Ideas on Tablescape, like literally all of it's there. And it also asks what worries you about hosting this, so it can walk you through how to handle that situation also. It's so good. It's included in the membership, or like I said, you can get it as a standalone. And then I also have the Macmillan framework. And if you've ever done program evaluation for a nonprofit, this thing is the best. It was developed at Wharton, which, if you know, that's like an Ivy business school. It was developed at Wharton, and this is what very expensive consultants use to figure out whether a program your nonprofit is running is worth you continuing to run, and where there's growth or divestment or any of those things. This will do that. I ran this through, I built it out. Again, took everything I've learned from graduate school, not just in this framework, but what I've learned doing other classes in graduate school, built this out and ran several nonprofits that I'm a part of through it, and got really good, unique insight for each of them. And I even changed whether I was like a prospective board member or I was the executive director, and the output was different for each of them, which I thought was really great. So again, it's included, or you can get it as a standalone. And so right now, founding members get all of the membership for $397 a year. After August 1st, it's going to go up to $597. The community goes live July 1st, and founding members will get in first. So you will get a notification when the community is up and active and ready for you. And you'll get to hang out a full month before content's really dropping and before the rest of the world kind of gets in. And so I'm excited because you'll get to help shape the content and the conversation. And I think that's really special. And so the link for that is also in the show notes. And then one final ask. If this podcast has added anything to your life, will you please leave a review? The algorithm likes it. It takes 2 minutes of your time and it literally changes how much the algorithm like wants people to find the show. And so I would appreciate it. I know the women that you know and the women who will find the show will appreciate you doing that. So thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Toodaloo, friends.